Lego is practically made for bikers. After all, we're still children at heart and love wrenching on our bikes, which is not that different to building Lego. There's just less grease. So it's not too late for them to offer us this BMW M1000RR, the biggest and most accurate superbike they've ever created. But please, Lego, put the stickers on at the factory next time.
As a kid, my family would always buy me Lego for birthdays and Christmas. But since I've been old enough to ride real motorcycles, they seem to have stopped. However, when I saw this BMW, I figured that I should stop waiting for them to buy me Lego again and just get this for myself, because it looks incredible. And hopefully my family will then watch this video and take the hint.
In the past, Lego has offered this dismal attempt at a Harley Fatboy. And more recently, they upped their game with this Panigale V4, which is cool, but not as realistic or as big as the M1000, the motorsport version of BMW's S1000RR.
Basically, Lego thought that the first ever M motorcycle deserved a replica to be made of it, so they finally made a bike that appeals to me.
Especially because this is part of the Technic range, which means it's made up of awesome functional parts like suspension and pistons, rather than the boring rectangular blocks that you associate with Lego. The box itself is rather massive, which is a good start. It contains just under 2,000 pieces, so it should keep me busy for a while. And luckily I'm over 18, because for some reason, that's how old you have to be to build this.
I assume it's because you either need a motorcycle license to build it, or maybe it's going to drive you to drink. Or maybe they just know that bikers are children for their entire lives, so an age limit won't make any difference anywhere. We're probably still going to choke on the pieces.
The giant box has no wasted space, and is packed to the brim with 13 bags of parts and one box, which contains another 3 bags of parts, along with the Bible you will need to assemble the behemoth. Just the instructions are 400 pages long, which makes it thicker than an iPhone apparently. It starts out with a bit of insight into the project, praising the M1000RR and how it needed to be big to do it justice. And rightly so, the team leader Samuel Tachi gets a page to boast about being an ex-motorcycle designer.
But don't waste too much time reading, because it took me 11 hours in total over 3 stints to complete the bike, easily making it the biggest Lego creation I've ever built, and without a doubt, the coolest Lego motorcycle you can buy.
The build starts off by piecing together the gearbox and engine, which is the most technical and fun section in my opinion. The gearbox is semi-functional and even has a rather accurate selector drum. The inline 4-cylinder engine isn't any less impressive, with transparent cylinders, so that when combined with the gold 62-link chain and gearbox, you can actually watch the adorable pistons pulse up and down, getting your inner mechanic excited. And I think the creative radiator and shift shaft that doesn't forget the quick shifter also deserve a mention. And all of that is just from the first set of parts. You go on to assemble a base for the bike to sit on that doubles as a stand to build it on, which comes in handy when attaching parts like the swing arm that even has a brake line running along it. The swing arm pieces, rear shock, and giant rims and tires were a few of the 8 bespoke parts Lego had to develop just for this project. The suspension needs to be able to hold all 1.4 kilograms once completed, which means I struggled to even compress the rear shock with just 2 fingers. And I almost needed a tire mounting machine to seat these tires on the rims. Unsurprisingly, the forks were another bespoke part that look brilliant. But I think my favorite has to be the front brake discs that need to fill the wheel and are therefore way bigger than you expect. The final bespoke part is the windscreen that looks straight off the real bike. But even cooler is the way you can choose between 3 dash options, of which I'm going to stick with the race option. I still don't know how they can so closely replicate the shape of a bike with just Lego pieces, especially a bike that's already a strange shape. However, there are about 300 too many stickers, but I guess they do make it look a lot more lifelike, except for the silly carbon stickers on the winglets. And yes, even Lego bikes have winglets these days. However, it can be excused because at least it has an Akropovich exhaust. And finally, you assemble it a paddock stand in case you want it to look like a race bike. So this is what 11 hours, 400 pages of instructions, 1.4 kilograms of Lego, and far too many stickers get you. And it's 100% worth it and looks phenomenal. The only downside is that you can't see much of the moving pistons once it's fully assembled, so enjoy it during the build process. You can, however, play with the gear lever that goes through 4 tactile gears thanks to that selector drum at the start. And obviously the suspension is fully functioning. This is the first time I've ever made mistakes building Lego, simply because there's so much going on at any given time. There were moments when I had no idea what I was making because it didn't resemble any part of a bike, but you just have to trust the process and eventually it surprises you. It's difficult to really show the scale of this bike in a video, but let's just say it's a very satisfying size, and it's so big that it even struggles with its own weight. The fork assembly folds a bit to one side when on the paddock stand, which I'm guessing is why it also comes with this base that hooks in under the belly pan. But the base is a nice touch, because it shows some cool stats of the real bike. Like it puts out 212 horsepower, does 0 to 100 in 3.1 seconds, and the winglets provide over 16 kilograms of downforce, which isn't as many Lego BMWs as you might expect.
So ultimately, if you're both a Lego and motorcycle fanatic, you will absolutely love this. You definitely feel as though you get your money's worth because A, it takes so long to build, and B, it's so realistic. I would, however, recommend that you build it in 1 hour stints over 11 days and not 11 hours non-stop, because that does take the fun out of it. But anyway, hopefully they offer us a Yamaha soon, and I'll see you on the next ride.